this, I say, is the sort of, I say, Mayfair district of Colombo, such as there is one. A lot of the diplomatic personnel live here, and a lot of the wealthier people. And we are just passing now the residence of the late President Premadasa. This was one of his residences. We're just going by now.
Making another series of TV programs with Dr. Arthur C. Clarke. And one of the programs is about the mysteries of India. And there's one theory about the famous Indian rope trick that we want to show.
There are some very nice houses in this area, and also some institutions. There's an agricultural research center there. There's secretariats, and we are just coming up to the Deputy British High Commissioner's residence, and to the residence of the High Commissioner himself.
As you probably know, the Indian rope trick is something that people think basically that exists, but one can never find an eyewitness who's actually seen it. There's always a friend who's seen it.
This area was called Cinnamon Gardens, but I don't think there's much cinnamon here now. Because cinnamon and spices are what brought, the Europeans to the East, 400 or 500 years ago. People don't realize why, because in those days there was no way of preserving meat. And so the only thing to do was to disguise the taste when it turned by powerful spices. So.
One of the ways in which people think the rope trick was done was with a very elaborate setup, which means that you have to put sort of wires up in trees and things like that. And we thought that it would be rather fun to stage an Indian rope trick for our program, and that it would be good to do it with Arthur here in Sri Lanka.
I don't drive. In fact, I've never driven a car since the day I took my driving license in Sydney in 1955. And in the process of learning to drive, I discovered that I shouldn't.
It's obviously a bit of a moot point as to whether psychic powers are involved or not. Well, the Indian rope trick is famously something that everybody else has seen, but you never see yourself. And I must say we've had considerable difficulty finding anybody who'll even talk to us about doing the Indian rope trick. And I don't like to say this much in front of the researchers, but I've certainly failed to fix it. So we're going to do the second most famous trick from India, another of the ones that people of the Empire used to come home to Britain and marvel about, and it's called the Indian plant trick.
So this is the famous mango seed. No, they were so big.
It's very old thing now, it's my father's.
See, I'll keep inside.
Come.
Dip. Stop, I'm sorry for that.
Sorry,
and I got to go.
Don't look at me, look at where Arthur is. Oh. Okay. Okay. Yeah. And action.
And again, Colin, second. Now, I got Indian sand. So now I'm a son. Now I'll blow the music, it's coming very big to this thing.
Hold it down. Stop that, we're reloading film.
Everything goes wrong all the time.
It's coming very big to it. No. 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 No, no,
Can you hold it there? We've got to reload sound now.
We always believe that we must find the best stories, and if that means suddenly changing our schedule because we found something new, then we do it. And that's very easy for me or one of the producers to say, let's change everything because we found something better. It's a complete nightmare for the rest of the office.
It's coming. Where the big one?
Well, very good.
Today, we're here in Colombo. We have a producer and a researcher in Bangkok. They've just been to the Plain of Jars in Laos. We have a crew in Italy, and they are doing some stuff about religious relics. And of course, we have people out in the south of England and all over the place. It's tremendously complex. We're great experts now on airline timetables, on freight, on just trying to get things done when there's very little time in which to do it, really.
I think this is only a few miles from the middle of Colombo. It looks like primeval forest, even though these are perfectly tame rubber trees. Father Mervyn Fernando really built this up from scratch. Did a wonderful job. It's young people, all religions or no religion here, and they take part in seminars on really how to live happy lives.
I particularly wanted him to be associated with us because our youth, they must widen their horizons. You know, they can't just confine their interest to studies and examinations and just a job and employment. They must understand something of the world in which we live, the larger universe. And I think Arthur is a man who's able to capture the imagination of young people, of youth. And he's somebody whom they can look up to.
Is all this gibberish being loaded into the...
I think it has.
It's dictated by a spirit voice.
We want our young people to grow up into the fullness of mind, heart, and spirit. And that means, you know, Arthur provides a kind of model for that, you know.
I assume the crew will be putting in for a hardship allowance for working in these intolerable circumstances.
Chilly. Give them ideas, Arthur.
Absolutely.
You put in the hardship allowance for working with them, so just give them ideas about us. Right.
Okay, back to stop.
He's perhaps the greatest space prophet and the prophet with regard to technological developments. I don't think anybody has seen that clearly and that specifically what will come next. And a lot of the things he predicted some time back have come true, and he has made more predictions, and I guess they'll come true too, you know? Yeah.
Almost anything important you can think of can be done. Eventually, there'll be virtual reality, so we not only can communicate with someone somewhere else in the world, but we think we're there, and they think we're there, and that's the next step. But that won't be till the next century, well into the next century. Technology is really what distinguishes man from the rest of the animal kingdom. Everything around us has been made possible by technology, starting with fire. People sometimes forget that. And of course, technology does invariably bring in problems. I mean, the motor car kills 50,000, 100,000 people a year and pollutes our cities. But you have to have these technologies, communications, transportation, power generation. That civilization of any kind is impossible. Even when I came here for the first time in 1956, that I'd still be here. I like it for many reasons. There's a tremendous variety in one small country, not much, about the size of England, roughly, and of course the beaches and the sea and the coral reefs, which is really what got me here in the first case. I came here because I was interested in diving, and I became interested in diving because of my interest in space, because the two environments, space and the sea, have so much in common, particularly the phenomenon of weightlessness. I didn't really expect to ever have a chance of going into space, but I could experience some of it just diving. One of the interesting things about underwater is you can't take your worries and fears with you. It's, in a way, I guess, like a return to the womb. We were born in the sea, and we spend the first 8 or 9 months of our lives in a marine environment, essentially. And so when you underwater, and assuming that it's good visibility and interesting things around, as there are here, it's a new existence. Someone said, I'm only totally relaxed and totally at peace underwater. There's much in common between the ocean and the sky. Maybe there are stranger creatures up on the other planets than there are in the ocean, which is, I think, one reason why I like exploring the sea, because it's a microcosm of the universe. We've learned really practically nothing yet about the universe around us. We're just beginning our exploration of the cosmos, and that's why it's such an exciting time to live now. It's very hard to realize that most of the people now alive weren't even born when the first men landed on the moon. Civilization needs new frontiers, otherwise it will stagnate and perish. Space is indeed the final frontier, which will beckon us forward as long as the universe endures.